Hello from AI Sciences and welcome to Q Learning Explained for Beginners. I'm your instructor Kashif Murtaza, and in this video we are going to talk about Q functions, Q learning, and finally we will talk about deep Q learning. So let's dive in and see what is a Q function. A Q function, sometimes stand for quality function, represents a value for a state and action pair. So in an environment, consider an environment in which an agent is to which the agent is interacting. The environment has some set of states, let's say S0, S1, S2, and so on. And the agent can perform a set of actions, let's say A0, A1, A2, and so on. And what action in a particular state the agent should perform, that the choice of that action is actually triggered by this Q value, which represents the utility of the action in this particular state in the future. So a better Q value for a state and action pair actually guides to take the action that has the maximum value. And that actually gives the optimal policy as well. So a policy which represents what action to take in a particular state, let me call that as policy of state S, is actually the action that maximizes the Q value in that state, because this Q value represents the quality of that action in the of different actions in a particular state for all the future. So when the model of the environment is not given, the Q function, learning a Q function directly is one of the best and very great kind of idea to learn the optimal policy. So let me write that pi star as optimal policy. Now the question is how these Q tables, how these Q values are updated. It is great to mention here that if the number of states and number of actions are not bigger in size, then you can represent this Q function as a table, and you can just fill in the values of different cells in this table. For example, this cell represents the Q value, the quality of action A0 at state S0. Similarly, this particular value represents the quality of action 2 in state S1. So if for an environment an agent, if for an environment and an agent, if this Q function can be learned, so a learning of this Q function is required, which is done incrementally in a model-free environment or the environment for which the model is not known. Normally the model is referred to as the availability of transition probabilities and reward distribution. So and learning this Q function is better than learning a value function. Value function normally represents the same kind of idea, the value of a state regardless of the actions. But after learning a value function, which may look smarter in size because we only deal with states rather than actions, but the problem is from the value function, learning the optimal policy is not possible without having the transition probabilities. So directly learning a state value function, which is a Q function, is much better where the model is not known. Next we talk about the Q learning update, which is from temporal differencing, or you can call it from running averages. If Q, ST, and AT represents the Q value of the state ST, if we take action AT, then the update can be taken as if we receive this reward for taking an action AT at state ST, if we receive this immediate reward, and that's the next state we observe after taking an action AT, and at this particular state there are a set of actions and we choose the action that maximizes the future Q value, and this is the discount factor gamma that is required for discounting the measures of future, or larger values of gamma means the agent is really farsighted, and smaller values of gamma means the agent is really looking at the immediate rewards. So that's our target. That's where we currently stand, and this particular difference can be seen as error, and we take alpha steps in this particular direction to rectify our estimate, and this is the incremental learning that moves on. That's the learning rate. That's a hyperparameter. This discount factor is also a hyperparameter and need to be set, and this argmax is required for learning the optimal policy, and that's the incremental update that is there. Let's now see what is Q learning in a very high level view. So we need first to set all our states as well as actions. So all actions, we need to build a table for that. Initialize that table, maybe with 0 values or some random values. Then we choose an action from Q, obviously depending upon certain policy. In the next slide, we will see what that policy is. We choose an action, we perform an action, and we measure the immediate reward. And obviously with immediate reward, we measure the future Q value as well. And then we update the Q table using this particular equation. And after updating the Q table, now we have a different state of Q. We sample an action and we go back and forth until we converge. Let's see this in a more like this is a flowchart. Let's see it in an algorithmic way. So let's say we initialize all the states and action with 0. We initialize our gamma, let's say 0.9 or some other value. And we also initialize an epsilon that is required here, let's say with a large value, let's say 0.99 or something like that. What this epsilon does, we will see that later. So after this, we also initialize the learning rate, for example, alpha, let's say 0.1 or something. After initialization, we pick a random state, ST, and then we sample an action with epsilon greedy policy. An epsilon greedy policy is the following. So with probability 1 minus epsilon, we pick the maximum, which is the greedy. We go greedy. We pick the action that maximizes the Q value, and with value epsilon, we pick the random and action at random uniformly. With large value of epsilon, it will choose random actions at every state, thereby exploring more and more. And with smaller value of epsilon, it will go greedy, which means whatever it has learned so far, it will exploit more and more. So the value of epsilon is actually a compromise between exploration and exploitation. A general rule of thumb is one should start with a larger value of epsilon, thereby exploring more and more in the initial stages. And as it is building its experience, the epsilon should go smaller and smaller, and eventually it should go greedy or exploit its experience. Now, once the agent has sampled an action AT at state ST, it will observe a reward RT plus 1, and by taking that action in ST, it will then go to a next state ST plus 1. Now the Q table will be updated with respect to the greedy policy. So the greedy policy is if the agent has observed ST plus 1, then at that state there are a lot of actions, which action to choose or which Q value to pick, because there are a lot of actions. Well, the optimal policy will be gained by the greedy choice. So for the next state, the greedy choice will give the action, and that action will be plugged into this equation, which is the same as saying picking the maximum, picking the action that maximizes the Q value, and that updates the Q table, and the T is updated. If the terminal state reached, then go to step 2 and start another episode. By the same Q table. And if the terminal state does not happen, then keep repeating this particular loop. So the terminal state can be reached by exhausting the number of episodes or some other terminal criteria that can be defined. So that's a Q learning. One key idea to notice that is the actual action that the agent takes is based on epsilon greedy policy. But the future action based on which the update happens, that is due to the greedy policy. And that's a key difference between SARSA and this Q learning algorithm. Let's see a Python code just implement a very little kind of game and see what happens. Let's run this in Python. Let's just get. So we implement here a little game called Frozen Lake in Gym. You can install this OpenAI Gym. These are certain packages that are required. So we take those. Something about this game, this Frozen Lake. Let me just render the game, render the layout. So this S is start state, this G is goal state, and all these H's are holes. So hole, 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 and hole. And the environment is stochastic. The agent can take left, right, up, and down actions and tries to avoid the holes and reaches the goal. So we want a Q learning. We will deploy a Q learning for the agent to learn to play this game. So let's see. The total number of states and actions in this is there are 4 states, 4 actions, up, right, down, and left. And there are 16 states. Each of this grid is a state. Each of this grid cell is a state. So we initialize our Q table with all zeros, and that's a Q for now. And we set certain parameters, the number of episodes. Episode is just how many times you play this game to learn to build your Q table. Maximum steps in each episode, let's say 100, you can set it a different way. Learning rate, starting gamma, epsilon for greedy policy, and the learning rate decay or epsilon decay. So let's initialize these parameters, and then we have this whole Q learning algorithm, which actually builds the Q table, applies the Q learning step. That's the whether we are exploring or exploiting. So these kind of steps. So let's run this. After running this, the Q table will be updated. It has different values. Now let's test. Let's test 5 times how the agent plays. So that's the agent is playing now. It has learned to play. Let's see how better it has learned. The goal is to reach the G state. So let's see whether it reaches. So it reaches the goal state for the first time. Let's play it again. I have run this for. So it reaches again to the goal state. I have run this for 5 times. So yeah, you can just see the code and you can just adjust different parameters to check how better the Q learning is going. So it has reached the goal again and stuff like so. So while it is playing, let's move on to the next step in our tutorial, which is deep Q learning. In several cases, the number of states are infinite, or in sometimes number of states are infinite or continuous or maybe unmanageable, even if they are finite. For example, if in the case of chess there are 2 raised to the power 64 states, although that's a finite number, but that's so huge that you cannot build a table for these many states. And in certain cases, actions too, they are continuous or infinite. In those cases, building a Q function with a table may not be possible. So in that case, the Q function eventually is a function parameterized by some parameters W. So S and A. And that function, if that function is modeled by a deep neural network, then the whole process is known as deep Q learning. Again, the algorithm is the same, only the Q function is modeled by a deep neural network. Now there are 2 variations. One variation is to model the Q function with the input states as well as actions. And the output is a single neuron that gives the Q function for state and action. The problem with this particular approach is if there are so many actions, then to learn the optimal policy, this this Q value has to be computed for every action. And one kind of efficient way to implement that is to build a deep neural network with state as input and a neuron for Q value of every action. In that case, given one state, you'll be having Q value for every action, thereby finding out the policy for the action that maximizes is just one pass rather than a lot of passes. Well, these are practical details, but the take home is the deep Q learning actually models the Q function as a deep neural network, although there are other ways of modeling that function as well. So I hope you have liked this video. Please press the like button, subscribe our channel, and share this video with your friends. Hope to see you next time.